in the 1800s, there was a guy called Karl Marx, and he wanted to remake all of society to bring in a communist utopia. And his whole idea was that the rich only got richer by making the poor poorer, and so the poor people, well, they should engage in a violent revolution and overthrow the rich people. Now, the problem was that he wrote this at the same time as the Industrial Revolution, when there was a huge increase of wealth across the West through economic and technological development, and people in Europe and America were far less likely to overthrow their leaders or their elites or whatever it might be, because they were getting enough food, enough clothing, they were getting iPhones or whatever. iPhones actually came later than that, but you get the idea. However, people didn't want to let that idea die. So about 100 years later, these guys called the Frankfurt School, which was based in, guess which German city? Munich? No, it wasn't. It was based in Frankfurt. Anyway, they liked Marx's ideas. They wanted the whole revolution thing to happen. But they said that Marx's problem was that he really only divided people up by rich and poor. Whereas if we're really smart about this thing, we could divide them up into a whole bunch of different areas. And so what we could get if we did that, well, we could get a series of interlocking oppressions, right? You could have sex and race and class and ethnicity and ability and so on and so on and so on forever and ever and ever. And you can place everybody into all of these groups, all vying to be the most oppressed, not because you've necessarily experienced any oppression personally, but because you're part of that group. It's known as intersectionality, by the way, that whole idea. And in doing all of this, well, they managed to remake Marxism in a way that would work in an affluent, wealthy society, which is what we see today. See, this is why wokeness rarely aims to fight actual injustice. Occasionally that's true, in which case we'd absolutely agree, but most of the time the focus is simply on any areas of disparity between groups. So things like having traditional gender roles in marriage, crimes like giving your baby boy blue clothes and a truck, but your baby girl pink dresses and a doll, or iniquities such as presuming the scientific method and assuming that that might get you to some sort of universal truths, all of which have been claimed as oppressive by people who follow this ideology because they lead to different outcomes between groups and therefore must be abolished. And all of this altogether functions as a religion.